Hey everybody, it's your favorite guitar control teacher and life coach, Sean Daniel here, to walk you through some scales, how you can use beginner scales to kind of use in an acoustic blues context. And I think that scales are one of the most misunderstood and kind of weird things to wrap your head around as a beginner, because you start off just learning a scale and you're like, alright. And then you're just kind of going up and down and it's like, this is boring, this is killing me. I kind of just don't even want to play guitar anymore. Scales is such like a trigger word for guitar. So we're going to talk about how we can actually incorporate scales and make them musical, and how you can practice them in a way that doesn't want to make you just fork your eyeballs out. So you definitely want to click below and grab the link where the tabs for this is going to be available, because this is some information you're probably going to want to hold on to, because you're going to be able to use this in many, many different contexts throughout the rest of your life and possibly beyond. So what we're going to start out by doing is kind of going over one of the easiest scales you could ever learn. It's the pentatonic scale. That means it's only 5 notes, and we're going to play it in open position, which means half of these notes are going to be open strings, okay? So the E minor pentatonic, the bluesman's best friend, goes like this. You only really have to play 2 frets, the 3rd fret and the 2nd fret. The low E string is going to be open 3. The A string is open 2. The D string is open 2. The G string is open 2. The B string is open 3. And the E string is open 3. So 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. And then you can do it backwards. Again, I'm playing with a pick, doesn't matter. You can play it with your thumb, you can play with your fingers, it doesn't really matter. But even the sound of that already sounds like I'm in like some kind of like awful practice routine and I just want to stop and play a song. So the way we're going to start using this is by taking little pieces of this scale and playing them in context. And what we're going to do is we're going to take an E power chord, open E, into A. And then we're going to add this little kind of move right here, which is something you've probably heard in a lot of blues settings, where I'm playing 2 pulses, 1 and 2 and 3 and. So for the first 2 beats, I'm just getting that power chord, 2 and, which is just kind of like the 3rd fret. My middle finger is grabbing that 3rd fret on the low E string. And I'm bending it a little bit to add some kind of blues sauce to it. And then back to open. And then now what that's doing is I'm going to have a little bit of space before I go back to that to start experimenting with the notes in the E minor pentatonic scale. In fact, what we've done here, if we talk about just the notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 4 notes of that, that's where this comes from. It's a combination of the first note, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 4th note make an E minor power chord. Then we're adding that 2nd note. These are just pieces of that scale already. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding space to play 3 notes from that scale. The first 3 notes we're going to pick is just the open D string, the 2nd for the D string, and the open G string, which, if played in order, exists inside that scale. Alright, so E, bend, D to G, just like that, okay? And then we're going to go back. Play it at whatever pace you need to. If that's too fast, slow it down. If that's too slow, speed it up, do what you can. But we're starting to experiment, explore this really simple scale and adding to what we have. Now we can do this same pattern down a string. Because you'll notice, open 3, open 2, D. So now we have kind of one move. We can play it picked. We can hammer on. Hammering on is just hit the string. The energy from that open pick is still going. You just power down through it into the 2nd fret. Sometimes a hammer-on sounds smoother. You can get a little more energy to it, but that all comes from being inside of this scale. So I'm just alternating between the open D, its 2nd fret, and the string higher, and then the open A, its 2nd fret, and the string higher. In fact, just kind of that sound, that da-da-da, we can do that across a lot of these. We can do it on the open E string, and then just do the same thing, but its fret is the 3rd fret from that scale. We could do it on the open G string. We could do it on the open B string. Again, the B string is the 3rd fret again. We could do the same thing on the high E string. Now we don't have any higher strings, so we can just pull off to the open E string again. So that would be all right, but the cool thing about this musical blues exercise is that it leaves a little bit of space for us to kind of experiment within the scale. I'm always just kind of going back through it, and eventually your ears will develop and you'll know where those notes exist within this scale without having to practice it in a very monotonous forward and backwards. When people first start soloing and stuff, it's always like I'm just going either forward through the scale or backwards through a scale, and there's no space. It's just kind of like blah, 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 right? So the nice thing about this, it forces you, it gives you almost like a deadline before you got to get back to that bluesy type thing going on, right? Now the next thing I want to use to kind of incorporate this scale is to maybe build like a blues lick or something into that, and that's just kind of like a phrase, a group of notes that you can repeat at any time. Now the thing that I like to do with the pentatonic scale is, again, go backwards, but instead of going straight up backwards, we're going to create like what's called like a motif type thing, where we're going to do 3 notes again, but instead of going through all 12 of these notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we're going to do 3 at a time, backwards, 1, 2, 3, then we're going to go forward 1 note, which would be the open E string, and then we're going to, from there, start to go backwards again. So this is something that conceptually can be kind of hard to get your head around, going backwards 3, forward 1, backwards 3, forward 1, which is why that tab is really helpful. So we're going to start on the very back end of this scale. 3, open, 3B, open E, 3B, open B. Now we're to 3B, open E, 2G, open B, 2G, open G. So we're going to stop it right there. All right, now we can go through the entire scale like that, but I want you to just focus on that, because once you start speeding that up a little bit, you might see it as more of kind of like a signature thing, the sound of which you've probably heard in like countless different blues, rock songs, whatever. Just kind of like the sound, the signature of going backwards through a thing where you kind of go forwards too. So a really great exercise for changing direction instead of just mindlessly going through a scale like that. All right, now we can do the exact same thing forwards. So for that, we're going to start with the lower strings. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so open E, 3E, A, back 1, 3E, open A, 2A, back 1, open A, 2A, D, back 1, 2A, open D, 2D. So you see I just added that almost as like a riff in between the thing we were doing before. Now, I personally think that descending through it sounds a little more bluesy than ascending through it. Ascending through a scale like that is almost kind of like a Disney princess thing to do, because like you're building towards something. It's very hopeful. That's not what the blues is about. No, stop it. Backwards. Now you can do that through the whole scale. You can do that with just parts of it, especially if you want to kind of build up your chops speed-wise. Just do 2 groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, just doing them in groups like that will really kind of build up your chops. Now, the last thing we're going to do to kind of stick with the scale is to make it even more bluesy by adding a blue note, which is kind of a very signature blues thing. And what that is a note that doesn't technically belong in the scale, but we're jamming it in there because the blues has made us so sad we don't even have regard for the rules anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it right here to add that first fret on the A string, right? So we've been playing in this E minor for so long that hearing that note by itself just sounds awful right now, because the tonal center of what we've been doing is very E minor-ish. But in context of open 3, open 1, 2, walking the A string open to the first fret to the second fret, it sounds a little more palatable. Okay? Just like we were doing before. Power chord, 3, power chord. A, 1, 2. Now this is just really an A sharp note, or a B flat note, same difference. We can find that later on in the chord. So here's the first one. A sharp, B. This is the next A note right here, the second fret of the G string. So we're gonna add 2, 3 on the G string. So we're just adding this note here and here. So this is going to be another figure in the tab. Okay, so you can add those in any of the things that we were doing. We could do the backwards 3 thing again. See how just adding that blue note kind of creates like a signature blues thing, which is really just adding it to a very simple scale and really just kind of run it into a musical exercise. If you want to do it forward and backwards, there's definitely no harm in that. But sometimes I think you can make more musical exercises with these really simple scales. Something that, again, I think is massively underlooked in a lot of people's playing. I remember I just tried to learn songs straight up. I maybe dabbled in scales, but never really understood what in the heck I was doing. So hopefully this has brought a little bit of context to your playing to understand scales and how maybe you can use them more in a blues setting. And then you can just maybe take that and expand into maybe more fleshed out scales like the full major minor scale, more exotic scales, whatever your genre of music, your tastes allow. There's a scale for it, and being able to recognize, ooh, there's that blue note that kind of I like the sound of, or maybe you don't like the sound of. So if you like it, you can incorporate it. If you don't like it, you know exactly where it is to avoid it. But definitely try and make scales a part of your practice routine in a very musical and bluesy way. So now that you've conquered the concept of scales and you want to learn more, you're in luck, because we have more videos here and here that you can click on to get you to expand your guitar knowledge. And also make sure you click on this guy right here, because that's going to subscribe you to the Guitar Control channel where you can get alerts when new content is posted. Thanks a lot.